go through the rest of the process of an export-import process. And we're also just going to schedule this export. I've done engagement scoring and predictive modeling and rules. That was the first thing I tried. I did not like that. I know there are folks who do enjoy that. I just, it's not for me. Not to yuck anyone's yum on rules. I just have not had the best experience with it. So I typically do, there's probably a better name for it, that import-export process, where Slate runs the query, drops it on its own SFTP server, ingests it with the source format, and you just set this to run however frequently you need it to run. Typically engagement data on an automated sense, maybe you can do that once or twice a week. Same thing with predictive modeling. And then if you have something like admission committee coming up, then you can run it one-off very easily, very quickly. So to drop it on Slate's SFTP server, though, we're just doing a couple of dots, 2 specifically, the / to push it back a layer from the folder, so it's not in the outgoing folder. You're actually going to tell Slate, hey, actually drop this in the incoming folder, and we're just going to say engage behavior. You can add some kind of timestamp stuff here, and then in your source format, use an asterisk to as a wildcard, essentially, but we're not going to do that right now. It's always nice to have like a failures at least notification, but we'll just do the nice Excel spreadsheet. Here, do overnight Mondays. You can suppress the empty files. You probably won't have them though. And priority, I would, since we are, I don't want to say daisy chain, but since we typically, for like an engagement score, you're doing the behaviors in a calculation, then maybe bonuses, and then the totals, I would not want to use requested priority to try to daisy chain those in a certain order. I would just choose different staggered delivery windows, especially over the weekend, just because there's not as much stuff going on over the weekend, especially in these windows. If you have overly taxed something like the overnight preferred window, especially with like applications coming in from vendors like Common App, Coalition, you just have a lot of stuff going in overnight, maybe from your other internal systems like your SIS. You might not want to load everything in on this overnight, but if it's something like, oh yeah, I run all of these through Saturday and Sunday, and you just kind of stagger them through these different requested windows per query, I think that makes sense. But we will just run this real quick. And run that. And then just upload that. And again, this is just a clean slate with my dummy student test data that I did for the Persona Insight Engine. We're going to do a new spreadsheet this first time. Yeah, we don't need a folder necessarily. So because you are running an import-export process, you probably should be able to update fields on applicant records. Again, it depends on what exactly the fields you are doing and if they're safe, unsafe, how you want them to be updating, when you want them to be updating. I would also say do an update only. You don't want to be creating new records because these are already records that are existing in your Slate instance. So you definitely don't want duplicates. And then you can just upload this. Let me grab that file real quick. Engagement Insights Engine. We can upload that. And you can build an import. And we can map this to our fields. I think I did person scope fields since these are just engagement scores. Yeah, behavior. So this was just a total. Yeah. This is as an app. Trailing monthly. Because I just leave dead air on while I talk. I do have an engagement score here somewhere. Oh yeah, here we go. I'm just going to use this subscore. I didn't have a specific calculation. I might come back and do that as its own export. So we'll do a subscore. We'll just also do this for now, just as engagement score. And then, so we have the mapping. We'll actually generate a source format. Again, I would typically recommend no notification. I mean, notifications at least for failures. I don't think you want to get a weekly or daily email about this successfully running. You can add your email here. One other piece here, I would typically recommend, again, you're going to have a lot of fields. And I know Slate released some like not materialized views, whatever. Essentially, a query runs are based now. I don't think that's anything that I would do. I prefer having the fields in Slate and then hiding those fields. And you could also hide like the sources behind a custom permission for just the staff who are going to need those fields. You don't want to clutter up someone's query builder with a bunch of random behavior fields. So that's some additional notage there for just being able to keep your Slate relatively clean for most users. I'd probably keep that unsafe, again, depending on how you're building this. I would typically hide source interactions because this is a reoccurring run that's going to be happening. You don't want a billion of these. And then for the import, what we're going to do with the source format is we're actually going to look at, I mean, it's a source format. So it's going to be looking at Slate's SFTP server. And we're going to look for that specific file. Let me see if I can find how would I name it? Yeah, so the import path mask. I think it was engagement behaviors. And if you did do some kind of timestamp, you could just do a asterisk as a wildcard. And that way, if it does say date, time, whatever it could be, it's just going to accept whatever files are in the SFTP server, regardless of what's coming after behaviors. One note, though, is if you are then running a second query to create the total calculations based off of the individual behaviors, and you named your previous query like engagement behaviors and then engagement behaviors total, that asterisk is going to pick up both files because it has the same base naming convention. So that would be just one piece of caution I would recommend there.